To take the example of a country's football teams, Italy are known for being defensively astute, Brazil are known for being skillful, Spain and Holland are known for being technical, and England are known for passion. A country's culture outside football affects the culture inside football. Culture changes the lens through which we view the game. During his playing days, former Barcelona and Spanish international Xavi Hernandez talked about the contrast between the football culture of England and Spain. He said that when former Liverpool and England international Jamie Carragher won the ball and booted it into the crowd, he got a round of applause. Whereas in Spain, you would get nothing. It raises an interesting question. What conditions did Jamie Carragher meet to get a round of applause from the English fans? Why would he have got nothing from the Spanish fans? Now, what I then do is I'm going to go into is conditions of worth. And this is outside of football. Airline company Korean Air suffered 5 crashes in an 18-month period during the late 90s. Author and researcher Malcolm Gladwell believes that thousands lost their lives not because of any fault with the planes, but because of the specific behaviour of people in the moment. Behaviour that identifies as being part of South Korean airline culture. Recordings of cockpit conversations just before the crashes happened were examined. The co-pilots could be heard identifying dangers ahead in an unassertive manner, making suggestions and in some instances offering different options. Gladwell points out that Korean pilots do not speak assertively to their superiors, which was why, in his view, co-pilots in the cockpit at the time of crashes either withheld information or delivered it submissively. In support of Gladwell's view, a study of cultural psychology ranks South Korea second in the world for respect for authority, otherwise known as power distance. Power distance has its pros and cons, but in the cockpit, the cons far outweigh the pros. The problem was improved by recruiting people who had different cultural behaviours, who re-educated those who took part in power distance, and taught them English, a non-hierarchical language. Power distance can also apply to football. In certain cultures, if players have too much respect for a person they consider their superior, it can affect the development and growth of the team. Now, this plays out with individual players from around the world who are seen as the main player, overly aggressive, and it's quite contrasting in terms of what we put out there, what a player should be. You know, you should be humble, but actually there has to be another side to you, I think, to survive as a pro, but also to be at the top, right? So now, just putting that aside, going back to the cultural aspect and looking at what Xavi Hernandez was talking about with regards to, you know, the conditions Jamie Carragher met to get that round of applause, and then looking at the power that culture has outside of football when we look at the planes crashing and the hierarchy, how it plays out and how it affected behaviour. We're going to go over to Turkish football. Now, this is from Colin Kazim Richards, who's a Turkish international, and he's played in loads of different countries, but we're going to hear about it now. So far, I have played in England, Greece, Turkey, France, Holland, Scotland, and Brazil. Turkey's culture off the field holds back their performances on the field. In Turkey, people refer to those older than themselves as abi, meaning big brother or elder. In Turkish football, the players refer to their main player or the guy who earns the most money as büyük. I'm hoping I'm saying that right, which means big abi. If he, the big abi or the abi, messes up on the pitch, his lower status, lower earning teammates will not challenge him. Technically, Turkish players are unbelievably good, but the power of the RB holds back Turkish football. You only have to look at the Turks in Germany and Holland compared with those in Turkey. They're all Turkish, but the culture they grew up in is what was different. In the culture they grew up in was different, and this is what allows their talent to show. The likes of Mesut Ozil, Emre Can, and Cech Tosun, I don't know how to say his name, flourished in Europe, and they are German Turks. Yes, the development from a physical aspect may be better in Germany and Holland, but in football, the physical can only get you so far, we talk about leadership from the perspective of the manager and the player and how important it is. Abi is about overpowering leadership and a misuse of power. Cultural politics holds Turkish football back. If you have a problem with the coach or don't play well, that's it. You have to train alone. You might not get paid your wages. I remember having to train alone in random training spaces with limited facilities at random times. If I refused to go along with the punishment or question their rule, it would result in a heavy fine or my wages being withheld. So again, it's looking at Colin Kazim Richards touching on the difference between Turkish culture and other European countries. And yes, infrastructure plays a huge part in the development of Turkish people in, say, Germany. But when we look at the power of the Abi, that culture and that misuse of power affects the players, the rest of the team. Now, when we look at culture, and I'll go back, and I explain this in more depth here, but I look back to when I was younger, I don't remember seeing Terry Butcher play, but I saw the image of the bandage around his head with the blood so many times. And then when Paul Ince had the similar bandage across the head and the blood when England had that important game in Italy, so many times. And then I would see English players punching the air and shouting, and these were the images being used so many times in the press. And I felt that there was a certain expectation to meet these conditions as an English player. It was about passion. Everything was about passion, passion, passion. And that overrode the other elements of football. And so the people that watched football, that was their expectation. They needed to see passion, and they needed to see it in a certain way, because you can be passionate about football and be someone who's like a number 10, but you're not going to be passionate, but you might not be passionate in doing a tackle. So people will criticize you if you didn't do it in a particular way. And so coaches, again, who are brought up in this country, so I'm being tongue-tied this morning, but coaches who are being brought up in this country will also have that lens to view the game. So then what is the impact of that? So if that's our culture in England, what happened? So I've got a heading here called Losing Our Artists. Just as